So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and an update from me, sort of my winter warm-up challenge. So this was actually it was streamer, regular painter and contributor on YouTube and streamer Fritz from the GM's Alcove, who laid down the winter warmer challenge. The idea is that you get as many projects done as you can before the end of the month. Now, not crowing too much, as people will know from watching the channel, I'm a fairly prolific painter. The challenge of getting figures painted isn't really that difficult for me, because I cheat. I do lots of easy techniques. I'm not meticulous, and I do everything to a wargaming standard. Also spend a fair bit of time painting, so you know, sort of that challenge of getting figure. I know some of you guys spend days and days and days doing one figure. I can knock out a unit in a couple of days usually, and so it wasn't so much of a challenge in that sense, because the whole idea was to challenge you to do something and get it done in 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it was. So I took my challenge to be a little variant. There's two things I don't really like doing painting wise. One is horses, and other is white uniforms. So I thought, I've got some 28mm Foundry American War of Independence Light Dragoons I want to paint, that I bought at Christmas in their sale at 20% off, and I thought, right, here's my challenge. I will paint them in white uniforms and their horses, so make it a little bit something that I wouldn't necessarily always do. And this is the result. So this is painted up as, I think it's the second Delaware Continental Light Dragoons. They have the white uniform, white cross belts, and a sort of very pale blue turnbacks, and I thought they looked really cool, and I'm quite pleased how they've come out. Horses painted as usual, as is my want, with contrast paints, because I think that has made it so much easier. I'm trying to remember, because somebody will ask me. I'll tell you what, I'll put up a picture of the paints, because I did remember to do it this time, because somebody asked me last time when I did horses what contrast paints I used. So I'll put up a picture now. So that's that. So yeah, I used the contrast. I took some techniques that somebody else was talking about with the white, and I'm quite pleased how they've come out. I've used a sort of a muddy wash. I think it was soft tone wash, just because I wanted that off. I didn't want them to be parade ground perfect. These are campaign guys. Again, using the APS, Luke's APS basing material with some added tufts just to break that up. And I'm saying they're done. Well, they're not quite done, because there's a guy here, standard bearer. I'm just waiting for the flag to arrive to put on there. So that's on order. Hopefully will come in the next few days. So I'm not entirely sure. Somebody will probably tell me whether it's correct or not, but it appeared that the trumpeter, a bit like Napoleonic armies, wore sort of almost reverse colours. So he has a pale blue jacket with white etching and white undercoat, whereas the regular troopers have the white coats with a blue under. So that's how I've done it, just to symbolise that. Don't know whether it's right, but it works and it looks okay. So that's my winter warmer challenge. So next up, finished the second gun in the Warlords American War of Independence gun box. So you saw I did one using the figures just to make them sort of look more like militia types, and the second gun in the box, I did it as the Continentals. So this one I think is the 6-pounder gun. You could do a 3-pounder or a 6-pounder. Again, it has Molly What's-Her-Face as the gunner's mate, because according to the books, she joined her husband's battery after he was killed. So of course I had to put him in too, so dead body down the front is supposed to be Molly Renshaw's husband. Now again, quite pleased how this came out. Let me just Zoom in a little bit. There we go. They were quite easy to paint up. The gun is fiddly as hell, but yeah, I got it done and it's all ready to go, and I'm quite pleased with the results. I think it's okay, and it will join. It's on one of these Charlie Foxtrot bases, which allow you just to take the casualties off. Now what I must do is do some extra pennies to put in for casualties, so as I remove crew members it doesn't look like you've got a big hole there, but you can put another coin in with some basing material on, so I must remember to do that. So I'm going to call that one done. So also in the box set you get 2 officers, and as well as a dead body you saw on the gun, another dead body. I already painted up one of the officers as a sort of more military type. This one I've done as a continental officer. It does tell you who it's supposed to be. I forget now, but again, quite pleased how it's come out. Yeah, happy. It'll do. He'll be one of my officers in my American War of Independence sharp armies, or even as we grow our armies, probably move more into bolt action. Actually into black powder, where you need bigger forces, but you still need the officers. So not sure when I use the dead body, but he was there, painted him, done. Also got to paint up the first lot of the militia figures I got from Brigade Games. This is a unit of 8, or group of 8. I've got 24 of them, so I'm doing them in batches of 8. Just did them up as sort of nondescript militia. So in theory they could be loyalists, they could be rebels. Mainly I seem to play AWI Sharp as the rebel forces, which is odd because when I play Napoleonic Sharp practice I only ever play the English or the British, or British allies anyway. But in American War of Independence I change my allegiances and I become American for the day. So I'm quite pleased how these, I mean they are lovely figures, they really are nice figures. They're quite small. I mean I don't have a big issue with figures being slightly different scale, because you know humans were different scale, but you can see they're a little bit slighter than the Warlord figure, but I think they look really good. I'm really pleased. The modelling looks great. Used a lot of contrast paints just to sort of do it quicker, to have it speedier. Kept the colours fairly muted, used a dark wash and then dry brush just to sort of pop them a little bit better. The lights, this light that I show you the videos using is quite strong, and it brings out a lot. They look a bit shinier and a little brighter usually when I show them, but I think the actual effect is quite good. I've got another 8 underway. It's another bunch being done, so should have the 24 done hopefully in the next few weeks, and then I can finish off a few sprues of well, you saw them there, this sprue of a couple of sprues of normal Warlord ones which I need to finish off as well. So that'll be the AWI pretty much done for the time being. Well, actually no, I've got another box of guns, so I might do those up. I might just leave that because I don't really need 4 guns until we move on to playing the game in black powder. So anyway, pleased with that. Happy. So in the Warlords Bad Santa sale after Christmas, they were selling off a number of books and other things, and I bought the Indian Wars supplement for black powder because I thought it'd be fun to have, and they gave me this this figure as the addition. You know, when you buy the rule books directly from Warlords, they give you a special figure. Sometimes they're pretty useless, sometimes they're actually quite good. This one's quite good, I think. This is Indian Chief, or Scout I guess he is, for the Indian Wars, and he comes modelled on this big rock, so I thought, well, I'll put a whole load more rocks with him, so that's what I've done. I've mounted him up, maybe a bit darker than I meant to be, but hey, I think he looks great. I'm really pleased with him. He's going to be one of the Indian chiefs when I play with the Indians in either sharp practice or black powder. So I put him on a slightly bigger base just to denote the fact he's an officer. He's got a musket and he's got a tomahawk, and he's he's not afraid to use it. So finally, I wanted to share with you this book that I picked up. I saw it being recommended on one of the many Facebook pages I'm on, and I thought, you know what, it sounded really interesting. This is the story of the Battle of Northampton in 1460, which is part of the Wars of the Roses, one of the biggest battles, but not really that well known, of the War of the Roses. It's written by Mike Ingrams and was published by the Northampton Battlefield Society, and it's a sort of in-depth look at this battle that took place in 1460, and is a pivotal one within the War of the Roses. A fascinating, absolutely fascinating book. Now, I'll put a link up in the description of this video to Amazon. Now, it's part of an affiliate link I've set up. You can buy this book for I think it was $9.99 on Amazon, paperback, obviously. And if you click through using that affiliate link, I get a little tiny cut. Apparently, it doesn't cost you anything more. But apparently I do, so I've started the affiliate, so we'll see whether that has any success. Just might help fund my habit, so to speak. So anyway, back to this book. Really, really interesting book. It's a fascinating read, and they're sort of really in-depth, not in-depth, it's a very well-researched and very easy to read book in looking at this very pivotal battle. Now, it's fascinating for two things. It's one of the first significant battle in Britain where gunpowder was used in large numbers, so there were cannons on both sides, although there's a lot of dispute whether the Lancastrians actually used theirs, or maybe it was mainly the Royalists. And also it's the only time in the 30 plus years that the War of the Roses went on where a fortification was successfully stormed. So the battle takes place in Northampton, which, if you know your geography of Britain, is almost dead bang in the centre of Britain. The king at the time, King Henry, and his Lancastrian forces were defending the town, the crossing, and they'd fortified the town. You can see it on a beautiful image here. They fortified their position, and the Yorkist forces came basically and stormed their way in. So the Yorks were led by Edward, Earl of March, who soon became King Edward, and the Kingmaker, Earl of Warwick, and Lord, who's the other one? Lord Falconbury or something. And the Royalists, the defenders, the Lancastrians, had Henry VI, Duke of Buckinghamshire, Earl of Shrewsbury, Viscount Beaumont, and Lord Grey. Now, Lord Grey is an interesting character because he changed sides. Classic medieval battle. The Yorkists stormed the Lancastrian defences, and right at the pivotal moment, Lord Grey switched sides, and he let them into the fortifications. And in the ensuing melee, King Henry was captured by an archer, and several of the earls, I think Duke of Buckinghamshire was killed defending the king, unsuccessfully obviously. And it resulted in a major change in history in Britain, in the War of the Roses, with Edward becoming king and the Yorkists taking control of the government for many years and for subsequent years. And it's a fascinating read, really interesting book. It looks at everything through the book, through the campaign itself. Talks about the battle, obviously, itself, and sort of re-exploring some of the stuff that wasn't really understood. For the wargamers amongst us, there's descriptions about the weapons, the equipment that the protagonists used, the role of archers, the role of cannons, because I say it was very early days for it. So really good, and really it's easy to read book. So I would thoroughly and heartily recommend this if you're interested in something interesting in the period. Now, I've got heavily addicted to medieval period, which is why I'm reading it. Absolutely fascinating read, thoroughly recommended. So there you go, that's my update and my winter warmer, sort of. Hope your projects are going well, hope you enjoyed looking at what I've been working on. Thanks for the continuing support. creeping up to 500 subscribers. Slowly but surely we'll get there, but really pleased for everybody who has. Thank you so much for doing that. I've got at least, well, I've got footage for 3 games recorded, which I really just struggling to find the time to edit. Much as you may think with the games, the battle reports I put up on my channel, they're hour, 2 hour long extravaganzas. You may think I don't do any editing, but I do actually edit them quite heavily. I have to get them down to even that as a manageable amount of time to watch. But it does take a lot of time, and some videos take a lot more editing than the others, and I've just been really busy at work. So bear with me, there are some battle reports coming for those who like them. At least a couple of sharp practice games and also a bolt action game to showcase, so I will get those up, hopefully finished in the next few weeks, although I've got some business travel coming up in the next next month or so, so that might put a kibosh on both the painting and the gaming channel. Now this week, for those of you who are fascinated by other periods, we have a special at the club this week. One of the guys who does sort of serious gaming, shall we say, not the sort of frivolous games that like sharp practice and warlord games and that sort of thing, does real historically interesting games, and he develops his own rule set for the Spanish Successor Wars and the Northern Alliance Wars, period I don't really know much about, and I'm going to join him to play one of his games this Friday using his new rule set, using 15mm figures. So I've never played this period before. It's lots of lines, I believe, sort of lots of drilled lines of troops. He tells me they're really exciting rule set, very easy to play, so that's good because I'm stupid, but also good because you can download these rules. So I will, after the game, I believe there's a free set to download, and there's also a slight a set you have to pay a little bit for on Wargames Vault, but I shall provide all the details and all the links when I do that video. So anyway, just something to give you a heads up on. So hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thanks to all those who have, and thanks for all the inspiration and all the comments, all the nice comments under the videos. So I will see you again soon. This is Dom signing out.